Hi, everyone. I'm Ed Harold. Welcome to another Breath is Medicine Life with Breath Expert Series podcast. And today I'm joined by the amazing Michael Bijker. And I became aware of this young superstar in the breath world through an app that we're partners on as breath masters called the Breath Source. And the Breath Source is an app that has about 50 leaders in the breath community globally trying to produce positive change, a healthier relationship with our heart and our spirit, and everyone fulfilling their dharma, their duty, and the adventure of what it's like to be human. So I'm really excited to have a conversation with this amazing young man. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Ed, for having me. Namaste. Thank you.
So you have a background, a deep background in personal growth, the Eastern arts, and helping folks feel a little bit better about themselves. How did you get involved in the transformational business?
I guess I did a lot of testing on myself first,
Yeah.
right? And I think most people that go on that path and on a journey of helping others, they went through a transformation themselves first, and they just wanted to share that knowledge, like I had myself as well. From a young age, I was always very much interested about the workings of life and the mind and emotions, and why sometimes you feel happy if you do something or say somebody says something. It creates a certain sensation in your brain or in your emotional system. And why is that? How does that work? And I started experimenting with that a little bit. Like, okay, what if, for example, one of the first experiments I did, and this was when I was about 14. What if I would just the whole day do this, just a mini little smile? And I noticed that you do actually start to feel more positive. And then I started to do little experiments like, okay, what if I hurt myself, instead of saying, stupid chair or stupid this, I say, nice, nice.
Yeah.
And it's somehow you start to rewire your brain. You start to not see things as a conflict anymore or something you have to fight against in life, but something is just, it's all an experience. And every experience can help you grow in this life into a more mature, a more experienced soul. So I started to take all these things into every part of my life, also the really bad stuff. And on the one hand, I saw, okay, the danger of this is that you start to fake it. You start to, in a way, you are a little bit, but you shouldn't really just ignore what is there. So I saw that for some time I was faking things, and I noticed that there were some, on a subconscious level, some emotions that didn't get a chance to be felt. So this created certain conflicts in my subconscious mind. For example, I had skin problems, eczema, and I think partly that was because I didn't really give the space for some feelings that just needed to be felt. So then I saw, okay, let me try this thing, which meditation helped me very much with this, vipassana kind of meditation, where you
Yeah.
just observe what is there without any judgment, just feeling it, not saying, it's a nice feeling, I want it, or saying, I don't want it, I run away from it or push it away. Just give space.
Love it.
And this helped a lot, to just open up to what is there, to come face to face with reality as it is, and to become in peace with it, to dance with life and not struggle with it.
That's so well said. And, we live, it appears to be such a reactionary time. We're just bouncing off the walls. We're not really responding efficiently to the challenges that we have, and we're constantly exhausted. And we think about vipassana meditation and the ability just to be the observer, just to be the witness. And we've somewhat lost our connection to that amazing part of the brain that the witness is always on. It's never off, never took a day off, doesn't take sides. It's kind of like Switzerland, doesn't take sides. Can you explain a little
Absolutely.
bit about how folks might be able to cultivate a relationship with a part of themselves that we might call the observer.
Well, it's of course very wonderful, as you are teaching as well, Harold, Ed, that you are helping people to get into a state of observing and becoming in peace with themselves. The breathing very much helps with that, right? Because sometimes for people, I notice that also for myself in the beginning with meditation, it's really hard to say, okay, just sit and observe your breath, or
Right.
observe your mind, observe what is there. And people try to sit, and the mind is going all over the place. It's the awareness that's being kidnapped by the mind constantly, by a thought about the future, or a worry about the past, or this or that. So the breathing gets the awareness a bit out of the mind, back into the here and now, into the body. So the breathing techniques, I would highly recommend to everyone, like you are doing as well, like you are teaching as well. This is something great, but it's also very much about taking these things into daily life, and not just to create a little moment of 10, 20 minutes if you do your breathing session on your pillow, and then you have a moment of feeling blissed out or feeling a moment of peace, and then back to normal life again. But to take this ability to stay aware of whatever comes up in every moment of life, so that we start to use every moment to, first of all, change our relationship with ourselves and with life
Yes.
as it flows, and to clear out the impurities that might be there. Because if we notice, if we become aware, we know it's like, hey, there is a bit of irritation if somebody says something to me. And if we become fully aware, okay, let me try to get this state of pure awareness, of just observing without judging. What is happening? I feel tension here, maybe, or I feel tension in my shoulders, or maybe I go into thought patterns about what I should do, or what that person, the stupid person it is. To just observe, what is there? You free yourself. You become a free soul, a free spirit, right? And this is what all these techniques is about: to free your soul, to become aware that you are the beautiful light, the beautiful source of life, of God, that flows through you in every moment.
You know, nothing's really changed in the last 2, 3 thousand years except the clothes. And, you know, yoga has provided us a mapping system that is scientifically proven to improve the quality of our perception of ourselves, to improve the quality of the world that we live in, and to let go of thought forms or samaskaras, or you might call them neuropeptides, of things that disturb our peace of mind. Can you explain a little bit how, like, the foundation of like the yamas and the niyamas, and then leading into asana and pranayama and the whole royal road of yoga, you know, how has that system helped you understand you?
Well, it's funny because I was first very much busy also with my health and becoming flexible and strong. So just
Yeah,
with the physical side.
yeah,
So I started doing asanas, yoga
yeah,
asanas, the stretches, the postures,
yeah.
and all these things. Fantastic. And many people like myself, they that's how they get into yoga. But then you notice, like, hey, I feel that moment after the session, that moment of deep peace. Okay, that's interesting. That's that beautiful gem, that beautiful. How would you say? What the bees collect,
The honey,
the honey, the
the
honey.
bliss.
That's it. That's it. And that is the actually deep insight that you recognize. Okay, the body is something important, but the state of the mind and the state of the emotion system is also something maybe even more important. So you learn more how to work with that then, through doing the breathing practices, through doing the meditation, and all these things are parts of this beautiful um, 8 steps of yoga.
Mhm,
And then seeing also that everything you do in your daily life, it has an effect on your mind, on your emotional system, on your nervous system, in a
mhm.
way, on your whole energetic system. So if you don't live in a pure way, like if you keep telling lies to everyone, if you
Mhm.
keep stealing or cheating or not treating your own body or your own mind in the correct way or other people in the correct way, you can do all the yoga you want, but you're not gonna maintain that state of deep peace. So the beautiful path of the yoga practice with these 8 limbs is that you have a holistic way of taking care of the body, of course, taking care of the mind, taking care of the emotional system, also taking care how you perform your actions in daily life in a wholesome way, so that you can start to not have little moments of bliss, but you experience a connection with a greater life. You
Mhm.
experience a state of bliss throughout your daily life.
I think yoga took into consideration that growth is brutal.
Mm.
And you don't have to look far to see growth. If you go out into the farm and this time of year it's spring, and you see how that growth of that particular plant, it just grows a little bit every day. And it understood the balance between heat and cooling with the sun and the moon, and understood between water and sun and all the balances of nature. And it's funny, when I came to personal growth work through yoga, there was nothing ever like it. It wasn't like Western exercise where you're supposed to kill yourself and do it a lot and push through it. But there was a part of your mind that was constantly judging you in a negative light because you couldn't do things like your neighbor was doing, and somehow you were less than God because they could put their hands on the ground in a forward bend, but you couldn't because your
Mm.
hamstrings were tight. Where
Mm.
does all
Mhm. Mhm.
this self-talk, this
Yeah.
negative self-talk come from, even though we're surrounded by light and deeper understandings everywhere we go?
Yes, yes. Very interesting, because I think uh, almost everybody has these moments or really suffers from that. It's because not knowing what you truly are, right?
Right,
If
right.
if
That's it. Not
if one
knowing
knows what
who
he
we
or
are.
she truly is and understands, like, okay, at the soul level, at the source level of my being, I'm already this pure awareness, this pure consciousness, the divine light of of God, of creation working through me, observing through me. If we know that, then we know that you are already perfect as you are, and that
Right.
every experience, every moment, every feeling, every state of being is an expression of the divine nature. But
Yeah.
as soon as we start to just identify ourselves with, oh, I am how other people see me, or I am this body, but my mind tells me my body needs to be more flexible or needs to be more perfect, then I'm in conflict with myself, because on the
Mhm.
one hand, I'm experiencing this body, which my mind tells me it doesn't want to experience, doesn't want to have. And this is the duality, which in yoga we try to get rid of, to get more over yoga, which means a unity, that
Mhm.
we realize, okay, this is now at the moment my state of my body. I experience this body. I love this body. I accept this
Right.
body. Maybe I can't touch the ground. Doesn't matter. Maybe the other person is
Right.
much more flexible. That's the state he or she is in. This is now my experience in life, and I completely embrace it. I completely accept it. So once we get to know and identify with our essence, we know that all the other layers are just layers. We don't have
Right.
to get so identified with it.
I noticed that yoga never asks more of me than what I can provide.
Mm.
And it invites me to become responsible and accountable for my thoughts and feelings and my perceptions of what I believe is happening at every given moment of my life. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts that we miss along the way of evolving ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree for sure with that, Ed, because we're all in a different phase of not just life in these different stages of our life, but also in evolution of our soul, of our spirit. For some people, they um, are at the level of just becoming able to experience just the body, and that's already beautiful, that's already
Right.
fantastic. Other people maybe take it a little bit further and they become more aware of, also on a deeper level, there's these different energies flowing through the body. Okay, also fantastic. Other people are maybe more aware of not even deeper level of the awareness of it all. But it doesn't mean that one is higher
Right.
than the other or something like that. It is all and everything an an expression, an experience of a greater life than ourselves. And that is what I think is very important to start to understand, that everything we experience is an experience for a greater body than ourselves. Just like we are little cells in a body, or the nerve endings of long
Mhm.
nerves, and we are the nerve endings. And I'm experiencing all these things, all these
Mm.
emotions, all these feelings, all these choices that I'm going through, that I make in my life. It's not that my ego, myself, is like, I am experiencing this, or I am feeling this, or I am making these choices. To understand, like, there's
Mhm.
something much greater than myself, what I am part of, just like a little
Right.
cell in a much bigger body. And it's all good. It's all right. Everything needs to be experienced. Everything needs to be felt. So that
Mm.
we stop thinking in hierarchy levels, or stop thinking
Yes.
in I should reach this or I should reach that. Just, you are already perfect as you are. You are already exactly at the moment where you need to be. Once you know this, then the true peace starts to happen. And then life is not anymore about accomplishing something, but realizing that all you need to do in life is already accomplished. So you just have to experience.
To show up.
That's it.
You know,
That's it.
we've forgotten that we are all miracles, miracles of the highest proportion. There's trillions of things happening right now that I'm not aware of that's keeping me in conversation with you. And if that's not enough to keep me interested, I better work on my breathing.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Sometimes we're so preoccupied in our mind with so many creations of our own mind, which is not even real, not even here. It's just these illusions of our mind that we project on reality and not feeling reality. Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Speaking like of language, there's so many different languages for, for what we're doing here. There's kind of the Eastern language of personal growth, and then the Western psychology and physiology of personal growth. When I got involved in this game of personal growth, the languaging to me was that life was basically a battle between my false self and my true self.
Hmm.
And I had a choice over which thought form that I was going to bring to life at that particular moment. But I was so attached to this false self that I thought that was my true self.
Hmm.
And then I started to move my body with awareness. I started to control my breath. My neurochemistry changed and the brain got quiet. And then the heart started to speak to me and I could hear the heart. And then you start to get on this quest where you begin to realize that what you thought was true was a lie. And you didn't need to feed that thought form anymore. And once you had that one thing that you knew was a lie that you thought was a truth, then you were off on a quest to rediscover and remember who you really are.
Beautiful.
And I
Beautiful.
just thought that was like the most amazing thing, because then at that moment, I had an opportunity to rewrite my life, to kind of hit the reset button and, close these older chapters of abuse and uh, not feeling whole and the need to get attention in an unhealthy way from others to make me feel
Mhm.
all like I was this shit, you know.
Mhm.
And then, yoga comes along and it's this perfect psychophysiological process, body mind, that allows us to forget who we thought we were,
Mm.
false self, and remember who we've been all along the way.
Beautiful.
It's just like that was joy, like not happy. Like it was like joy. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not perfect. I'm a work in progress, but I'm okay.
Beautiful.
Can you relate to that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Very, very wonderful said, and I'm so happy to hear Ed, that you went through that process and are now able to share that knowledge with
Thank
others.
you.
Right? It's such a beautiful thing. But yeah, absolutely. I see that also happening a lot with people um, going through the process of yoga when they start doing yoga. And like I mentioned before, first is maybe just for physical health, or maybe
Mhm.
also sometimes a bit in competitive way. Look, I can already hold my
Right.
leg up like this, and I can already do this, and wow, they get excited, which is beautiful also, right? In a way, because it pushes them
Right.
to learn more, to develop more. But you see then that slowly the type of practice start to change. At first, it's like coming to yoga classes and then thinking, oh man, this meditation part is boring, but I want to do become more flexible, or do
Hmm.
of the strengthening exercise. And then you see slowly, okay, um, uh, they become more interested also in the pranayama practice, in the meditation practice. And then instead of wanting a session with 90% of physical practices and asanas,
Hmm.
then it becomes just 20% asanas as a preparation,
Yeah.
then maybe 40% of some nice
Yes.
pranayama, and then 40% of meditation, right? So you see that happening. And also in the way people relate with their own mind, or with their own emotions, how they deal with their
Hmm.
own own mind, or their own vision, or their own image about
Hmm.
themselves, how other people see them, or how they see their past. Everything becomes so more wholesome, so more gentle, so more kind. But not just kind and wholesome and beautiful, but also more with a strength, but a good strength.
Hmm.
Not just passively like, life is shanti, life is good,
Hmm.
no. Also sometimes you need to take action for things.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
you need to stand up and help others, or sometimes you need to stand up for yourself in a certain way, to um, um, out of respect for what you think is truthful and what is right. And this is also then much more stronger. And people stop living out of the expectations of others, or out of what they had from their past, or about how you should be or what you should become, or
Hmm.
no, just feeling from the heart what is right, what is truthful, and living with that with confidence and strength, and uh, gentleness, of course.
That's so well said. And I think it helps folks understand the process that there is, once you have this gentle awakening, there's no going back.
Hmm.
It's a gift from God. That you had
Absolutely.
that moment where there was this light, where there was once shadow. And then once you've been gifted with that, I have news for you, friends. There is no going back. You will
Mm.
never go back. Now, you might not ever get any further, but you might stay where you are, but you will never go back. And there is no going back. There is only ascension. You will each day hopefully take an extra step or go up another rung on that ladder in removing the hallucination of what you thought you were and remembering the reality of what you were born to do. When you think about the four types of yoga, the bhakti yoga, the raja yoga, the karma yoga, the yana yoga, these guys and gals, they knew what they were doing. Like they knew the four genetic type of makeups, and they knew there was going to be a system that was seamless for you if you wanted to dip your toe in that pond. Can you
Mm.
explain a little bit about the four real branches of yoga,
Mm.
and you know what that really means? Because in the West we've kind of watered down the original intention so that
Mm.
it's more comfortable for everybody. But in that, I think when we try to make it comfortable for everybody, it's comfortable for nobody.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's so watered down that it loses its essence, and it loses
Right, right.
its
I get it,
core. Yeah,
but
yeah,
there's
yeah,
a reason why they did it this way.
Absolutely. Well, the thing is, of course, also that everybody is in a different stage of life. Everybody
Hmm.
has a different kind of mind, a different kind of body. Some people are intellectually very strong,
Yes.
very good with thinking, and maybe a natural interest about how nature works,
Hmm.
how the universe works,
Hmm.
how, and through using the mind in this way, you can get to so much insight of the essence of this reality
Hmm.
by thinking a lot about this
Hmm.
with jhana yoga, where
Yeah.
it's going
Yes.
into to science, into wisdom, into really using the mind to get a grasp, a glimpse of how amazingly it
Hmm.
all actually is, and realizing then eventually, like, you can know with the mind everything, but you don't know nothing, because it's so great, it's so amazingly fantastically great that you understand that it's beyond our ability to
Hmm.
perceive, but that gives us the realization that you are part of
Hmm.
something so
Yes.
beautiful, so great. Just like I said it before, the cell in that big body, you cannot know the whole body, but once you really
Hmm.
understand that the cell, you can understand a little bit your relationship with that big body, and you know that you are part of
Yes.
it. You can feel that connection. So that
Yes.
is, in that way, using the mind to get into a state of feeling that connection
Hmm.
and realizing that connection, and knowing that you are in essence part of a greater
Whole.
self, a greater whole, exactly. Now, then there's also, of course, the bhakti yoga, the
Yes.
worshiping, the devotion, which is also, of course, fantastic. But for some, maybe this is not really, especially nowadays in the West, people are kind of gotten allergic to religion, especially in Christianity, that people feel such a bad taste with it. I personally, I was grown up uh, as a with Christian parents. My father was a preacher, and my
Mm,
mother
great.
also, and I got so much beautiful things with it. I don't feel a strong connection so much with the church itself. I don't really am a church goer, but things that Jesus said were so inspiring for me, and I'm
Hmm.
very, very grateful for that. But in that way, I also got interested in Buddhism very much, and
Hmm.
even I got interested in Islam, in Hinduism, and all these different religions. And then I saw, like, okay, there is an essence in it all. There's a truth in it all, which is that there is this deep sense of connection that we can start to feel with a greater whole. And
Hmm.
nowadays, uh, the whole day through, I'm saying, okay, thank God, okay, wonderful. When I have food, for just little moments
Yes.
of devotion. If I see something beautiful, little moments of devotion. So taking that in my daily practice, and this can also help us very much to know our position in this greater reality.
Hmm.
If I see a beautiful cloud formation, or if I'm going for a surf in the water, or if I'm
Hmm.
having food,
Yeah.
and I have a little moment of gratitude, okay, just maybe even if it's 1 second, or just, okay, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hmm.
Then I know my position, that I get grateful, I get thankful, but also I understand that everything that happens is a lot of times beyond my ability to control, and it's
Yeah.
just for me to
Right.
experience and to
Yes.
trust that process, to open up to the process, to know that I am part of that whole flow, and it's all right. It's manifested by something greater than myself,
Hmm.
which I am in connection with. So that's also something very beautiful, the
Yeah.
bhakti yoga. And of course, I'm just a little tip of the iceberg, what I'm explaining. Maybe you know much more about bhakti yoga than myself. But
I love to chant.
yeah, yeah, beautiful chanting, very wonderful.
I mean, the vibration of these chants. I mean, you talk about people who you want to get high, you want to feel at home with God, but rather than take something from the outside and put it in you to adjust your brain,
Hmm.
you can turn things on inside you that are just as powerful, and your mind can see that you can do it yourself.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's it. That's it. And the thing is that for so many people there is such a strong barrier against this, right? They feel a bit weird. They feel a bit like it's
Right,
a sect or a cult, and they don't want to do it.
right,
But sometimes in sessions that I have, I say just try it, just
right,
do it. And then it's like as soon as people go over that hurdle of the ego, of
right.
thinking like, oh,
Exactly.
what if my friends would see me, because we always made jokes about, oh, Krishna Krishna, chanting, those kind of things. Once they get over that hurdle and they do get into the vibe, the mode, it's such a relief, right? Such a releasing, such an opening up. It's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing.
Yeah, everybody has their weird meter.
Yeah,
That I'll do this, but I'm not doing that. That's
yeah,
too weird. That's not enough weird. Without weird, nothing would change.
yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's it. It would always be the same boring reality.
Yeah.
you
And,
need you need weirdness. Yeah,
it's funny
definitely.
how yoga allows us to embrace the chaos
Mm.
and not become chaotic, but shift, from who we were yesterday to more present today, which ensures a better tomorrow.
Hmm. Beautiful. Well said. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Very
this
nice.
this breathing thing.
There was one more thing. Sorry, Ed.
Oh, I'm
There was
sorry.
one more. The karma
Karma
yoga, right?
yoga. Yeah.
Which is so important uh, for people to be in service, just doing things for others, helping others, being at service. This gives so much goodness to yourself. Jesus once said, everything you give comes back in tenfold, and in many other
Right.
traditions and religions you see this back, that what you give is what you will receive back. So it's it's putting yourself in service, which will also greatly help to um, not put yourself, your own mind, your own emotional state, your own life always on the first place. Because sometimes people get so obsessed with that they always want to fix themselves, or to fix their mind, to fix their emotional system. And when you become so obsessed with yourself that you see your own problems, your own life as number one thing that should be taken care of, that you become completely self-obsessed. But once you start to shift your awareness to the problems of others, to how you can help others, to put action, not just
Mhm.
looking at the problems of the world and others and think
Right.
like, oh, everything is going to mess, oh, that poor person, put it into action to do something good. And then so much energy is being released within yourself, good energy. And also you shift your weight and you think, my own problems, it's not so not actually not so much, not so important. My own state of happiness, it will become better and better, but it doesn't become priority number one anymore. You just put yourself at service, and that puts yourself in such a good state of feeling connected with greater life than yourself, and not just focused on your own little ego life.
So well said. Life here on Earth. Earth is a working planet. This is not a
Mm.
rest home. From the time you open your eyes in the morning, you're creating karma, and you're not following karma. Karma's following you. And
Mm.
when we have that breath that holds our spine erect, and that we have our attention on the material that we're working with, subconsciously, consciously, all of a sudden we begin to realize that there's a part of me that's my own worst enemy.
Mm.
How'd he get in here? How can I get the microphone off of this guy? Because every time I listen to him, bad things happen. It's like I've been hijacked,
Yeah, yeah,
you know.
that's it.
But it's important for folks to realize that this is the process of awakening.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, and that's something sometimes a bit confusing for people, because as soon as they start doing these practices, they become actually more aware of this
Yes.
guy on the microphone that has
Right.
taken over your house, your life, right? So once you become more aware of it, and then it's like, man, actually, I'm going through the whole process of meditation and yoga, but I'm just becoming aware of what a mess it actually is inside.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a little bit like when people sometimes they don't like being in their own house because it's such a mess. They rather are
Right.
outside, or but you have to go into your house. You have to do some work, right? You have to do a deep cleaning, or maybe there are some rooms in the house that you really don't want to look because there's a strong smell coming out of
Right.
something rotting or something like that, and you rather not look at it. But in this process of inner cleansing, we have to go within. We have to become fully aware of all this restlessness, of all this confusion that might be there. And with the light of awareness, we start to transform, we start to clean, we start to open up. So once we are developing the awareness and the courage to come face to face with ourselves, to become aware of it all, the light of awareness will transform every dark corner, will bring light into
Hmm.
our whole being, instead of just ignoring some parts of ourselves and just being busy, busy, busy in life with other things.
So well said. Even for folks like us that are, quote unquote, the expert, we're all really just beginners,
That's it.
in all of this, and we're all remarkably average. Some of us might appear to be a little higher or lower, but it's all just an hallucination. When I first started this, some of my early teachers just said, Ed, why don't you just try to get through the day without incurring any negative karma? And when you notice a negative thought, action, or deed, forgive yourself, take a breath, and then go back into a gratuitous state that you had the opportunity to forgive yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was so profound because it gave me a combination of accountability, responsibility, but it also kind of gave me a free pass that I knew
Mm-hmm.
when I caught the ego in its lie that I could forgive myself, that
Mm-hmm.
God had already forgiven me, that there
Mm-hmm.
wasn't any shame or guilt to that. And then immediately, as soon as I forgave myself, a wave of gratitude would come in on the next breath. And I was like, wow,
Beautiful.
like we're connected to something here that's undescribable by words. Have you ever had, I mean, obviously you've had experiences like that.
Beautiful. Well, this technique, it's a fantastic technique, and I think um, yeah, it can be so helpful in life, even for myself as well. I will apply it. It's very nice. The good thing is also with this technique is that it gives you an ability to work with the negative emotion instead of just
Yes.
being how would you call it? Uh, Becoming aware of it, but then, yeah, what do you do with it then? You're just
Right.
overwhelmed with it. But if you can have a certain action to work with it, like, okay, wow, this is an opportunity, and impurity
Mhm.
comes up. Now there's an opportunity to work with it, to put action of forgiveness into it. And this is very, very transformational, for sure. In my own life, uh, to start to see every moment, every thing that happens in daily life, not just as something, well, okay, it happens, let's move on, but to see every moment as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to work with, to move. That can help so much to grow. And I must say that when I was a couple of years ago, I was living by myself on a beautiful cliff in a camper van with the
Beautiful.
ocean behind below. And every morning I would go for a swim, do a long yoga session, and in the afternoon, long yoga session, qigong, and all these things. very shanti, very peace. I would have not so much connection with people, just a couple. But if as soon as there was a little bit of friction, it was like, okay, I do my own thing again. I go into my own bubble. Then I met my beautiful wife, Harmka. I love her very much. And then already, if you have a love relationship, a lot of 99% it's beautiful, but every now and again you do um, show each other there's still maybe a bit of friction, a bit of irritation, a bit of this, a bit of that. And then we got two beautiful children as well. Thank God, very
Oh, God
wonderful.
bless.
But
God bless.
this is something that you cannot, as soon as you feel irritation or something, it's not like, okay, I'm gonna go away, forget about it, I'm gonna be by myself in peace and all shanti shanti, all very nice. No, you have to face, you have to really see that, okay, there's still so much impatience
Hmm.
within me when the kid, the baby is crying all night, and then all day, and then this and then that. Uh, um, so that then I really understood, wow, there's still so much work to do, actually, because there's so many moments where I still feel impatience or frustration. If you
Hmm.
didn't sleep good for 2 years or I don't know how long, then it does get on your nerves, all these things a little bit. So sometimes we think we are
Hmm.
there, kind of, but then life turns in a way and shows like, hey, there's still some
Hmm.
things still to work with to become more in real peace, because it's easy to be in peace when you're by yourself and
Right.
everything is
Right.
nice, you have enough money and everything is flowing. But as soon as that balance changes, can you still be in peace? Can you still
Right.
be okay with yourself? And in those moments we can really grow and learn even more, right?
Oh, without a doubt. And you're going to get nicked up a little bit out there in the world, emotionally, mentally, hopefully not physically. What are some of the tips that you use with folks to overcome their identity to fear and attaching themselves to fear states of consciousness? What are some things you'd like to use with your clients?
Hmm, that's a good one. That's a good one. um yeah, I what I sometimes do with people is then first of all feeling, how does fear actually feel?
Right.
Where do you feel it, instead of going into a mind mode and thinking, okay, I'm not feeling it, or I am strong, or telling yourself you are strong. Just what is it, what is it that you're running away from, what feeling is it? Because we can, that's also a thing. Hey, you know this very well, Ed. Of course, it was also with the Vipassana method of meditation.
Hmm.
It's not about trying to um, change things in your
Hmm.
life, or trying to change your body, or change even your breathing or something, but just to come face to face with, to feel what is actually there. Because what happens otherwise, if the fear comes up and then you do a method of
Hmm.
something to change your state of brain, maybe you will have changed your physiological state or your mental state, and then you don't have to
Hmm.
feel that anymore, but you still have not been able to deal with it, to come face to face with it, to feel it completely. Because as soon as you can feel it in its completeness and become okay with it, however hard it is, then you will never have to run anymore from it, you will never
Right.
have to change anything, because you are in peace with it.
Hmm.
So instead of changing something about ourselves to make the fear go away, it's about um, becoming okay with the fear. So then the method would be to just sit, also to calm your breathing, of course, but then to feel, where does it, do you actually feel it in your physical body? Is it a
Hmm.
little bit in the shoulders? Is
Yes.
it around the heart? Is it, do you feel in your face things start to frown? Because in the physical body, all the emotions and all the state of minds are reflected, and
Hmm.
it's a beautiful tool to start to feel what is actually, what is it doing in this physical reality right here, right now. And once you can start to feel that, to go a little bit deeper, okay,
Hmm.
what is it then on an emotional level, on a mind level, what is that friction. What is this is especially important. What is it that has the conflict with it? What is it that it wants to push that feeling away? So that we start to analyze it like a scientist, almost like,
Mm,
okay, what is a part of me that wants to resist, that wants to push away, and what is that part of it that is feeling the emotion? Can I take a step back,
mm-hmm.
see it unfold?
Yes.
And as soon as we take a step back, we go into a state of higher self, into a state of pure observing, into a state of pure consciousness, so to say. And we understand, like, hey, I don't have to be identified with it. I watch it unfold in front of me. I see it, I feel it completely, but I'm observing it from a state of peace, because the quality of our essence, of our pure consciousness, is the quality is peace, is unity, is complete acceptance, is love. That's the quality of consciousness. So that helps one to become okay with the fear, with the anger, with the frustration, with all these so-called negative states, to go into a state of peace.
It takes a tremendous amount of energy for us
Mm.
to be us. And understanding that a plant looks different at 8 o'clock in the morning than it does at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And using that as kind of an awareness where you need to be on guard for those less than wholesome thoughts that are going to come to us, which usually come when our energy level has cycled
Mm.
into the lower part of the afternoon before sunset. What are some tips folks can do during the day energetically to be on guard for that part of the mind that shows up later in the afternoon, which sometimes gets us into states of consciousness that are away from God?
Mhm. I think throughout the day, make little mini breaks. Little
Yes,
mini breaks
I love
of
that. Breaks,
just
brain
two
breaks.
breaths. Exactly, exactly. Just little mini breaks of 2 breaths, of 3 breaths, maybe even 5 breaths. Every now and again, if you're sitting in the car, sitting behind the computer, if you're before you eat your meal, whatever it is, to have a little mini break to center yourself again,
You,
to get back to your foundation. Because it's especially in the afternoon, that feeling of disconnection, that feeling of being overwhelmed or completely depleted of your energy, of these lower states of energy. It's because we have lost our connection with our foundation
right.
during the day. So we are unbalanced. Yeah? And all these negative states easily they take over our whole mind, our whole emotional system. So to during the day, to keep every now and again, make a couple of calm breaths, hand on the belly, hand on the heart, some slow
Yeah.
breaths. Or
Mm.
if that doesn't if you cannot do it because you're in the middle of the office or something, okay, maybe just your hands resting on your knees, and just a couple of breaths, so that you keep your connection, your anchoredness with the foundation. And that also stops us from getting too lost in the dynamics of
Yeah.
daily life, of
The
work,
busyness, the busy.
exactly, exactly, yeah.
It's so funny how the ego doesn't want to stop what it's doing during the day and become a being again.
Hmm.
Like, oh, I'm going to take a minute off. Mikkel says take a minute off at the top of the hour and just take a minute and take 5 focused breaths. Well, that's not going to work. I mean, I need more than a minute. I'm really messed up. You know, at the end of the day, like just pushing back against your brain
Yeah.
and getting out of the doer in the left frontal lobe and getting into the right brain, the beer, and just
Hmm.
showing the mind that it has options on how to show up. And then by the end of the day, maybe you've taken 40 meditation breaths. And then by the end of the week, that's 280 meditation breaths, during the day. That is huge.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is also a very good advice you're giving here at about make little baby steps, and
Yeah,
and then you will get to your goal eventually. Because sometimes people think like meditation, I don't have time for meditation, so they
right,
don't do anything at all. Even just like you say, a couple of breaths, or if you would
right.
take a minute is already, it will make such a change. And once you start to have this as a habit, then
Right.
maybe the two breaths will become three breaths, maybe become five breaths, maybe it becomes a minute, maybe the minute becomes 5 minutes if you put it into your morning practice somewhere. And maybe you can develop a little 10-minute break
Right.
in the morning to cultivate your mind, your emotional state, because it's with your mind, it's with your emotional system, it's with your body, it's how you perceive your life. So why not take just 10 minutes in the morning to
Right.
optimize that,
Right.
to live life in a little bit more harmonious way.
Everybody wants to hit the accelerator and nobody wants to touch the brake. And what
Mm,
happens is you fry the system,
mm,
and the system's overheated. And when the system's overheated, you can't sleep at night. And then that creates another whole nother host of issues.
mm,
I remember when I first started out, the old yo, I came in, I'm all rambunctious. I got to heal. I got a life to live. I got to get this fixed, fast. I'm really messed up. And they were like, Ed, just take your time. Take your time. Be patient with yourself. There's no rush. Everything is going to be okay, because these samaskaras, these memories that we hold in our body, if the creator purified that all at once, we would burn into ash on the ground and there wouldn't be a body. And it would be very, very uncomfortable. How can we help folks understand the process takes time, much like the changing of the seasons during the year?
Very, very good question, Ed. I think, like you say, especially nowadays, everything has to be instant, right?
Yeah.
Also the shopping is a good example. You want something, it's not like you have to wait for even the
Mhm.
shop to open, or you have to wait till you go to the city to the
Mhm.
shop. No, you can just online order it, and the next day it right. Everything has to be instant, instant, instant. So then putting effort, time, and work into something
Mhm.
is something that we are not used to.
Right.
In a way, um, that's how it works. We see that with our physical body also very much. I mean, you can read all the books about becoming stronger, or more fit, or you can watch 100 YouTube videos about it. But as long as you're not going to pick up maybe some weights, or do some asanas, or do some
Mhm.
qigong, or go swimming, whatever it is, your body won't become any stronger. And I think people have to see that in that way you also have to train your mind, you have to train your emotional system. It does cost a little bit of effort, but once you get the hang of it, you will start to love it. You will start
Right.
to want to put time and energy into these things. It starts to change your life in such a beautiful way, because in daily life you will deal with people differently, you will deal with
Mhm.
your problems differently, you will deal with your mind, your emotions differently. But it does cost effort, there's no way around it.
Right.
But the thing is, though, just um, there is the thing of breath work, of breathing, is like a magic remote control. You
Yes,
can get
sir.
yourself into a state of peace with doing a couple of rounds of some strong spinal breathing, or
Mhm.
doing some certain types of breathing, which gets you into that state. But it's good to understand, for some people, um, it's not just about doing strong breathing techniques to change the chemistry in your brain to get higher in your own
Mhm.
supply. Eventually, this is like a little beginner trick. Eventually, it's about the slower breathing techniques, also very much about doing
Yeah.
the pranayama practice of slowing down the breath, being able to breathe with your own prana, with your own energetic system, to start to harmonize, to start to balance, to start to bring peace into your whole nervous system, emotional system, and mind, and your energy system.
Yeah, that's so well said. And it all somehow it just triggers me into asking you this question. It seems like we have an improper relationship with man-made time,
Hmm.
the way time has been taught to us. And it seems like there's never enough time to do what we want to do, and there's plenty of time to do what we don't want to do. What are some of the practices that we can do that change our perception of time, which gives us space to reorganize ourselves?
Mhm, mhm. Well, for sure, meditation is a
Yes.
fantastic thing. The interesting thing is with meditation is that you realize how long 5 minutes actually take. Because
Yes.
if you're scrolling on your phone for 5 minutes, you can scroll for an hour, and it's like, whoa, it's like 5 minutes have passed. But sometimes with meditation, especially when people have a very restless mind, you realize like, wow, in just 5 minutes I had already like hundreds of thoughts. How much time has already spent? Oh, just 5 minutes. It feels like half an hour. So it gives you a real good perception of time. It resets a little bit your perception of time,
Yeah.
because otherwise, with all these devices that we have nowadays, you can get so much information. You can see the whole world basically in photos and videos, and all this information that you can get in such a short amount of time, that your brain um, gets wired like that it needs constantly new impulses, new impulses, new impulses. But in the meantime, time is just flying. It's wasted.
Mhm.
It's
Right.
gone. But when we
Right.
become really aware what is actually happening in this moment, if I just take a moment to observe my breath, to calm down, the brain has to go into another state again of slow information processing. And this is very hard sometimes for people to do. What I do sometimes, which is a great exercise, I would highly recommend it for everyone, is that I go into nature for 3 days, and
Right.
without any food, with just some water, and then sit in a tent, and not taking any books, not writing anything down, not going for long walks, just sit by your tent, maybe do a bit of qigong or yoga, but just sit, do nothing. Your brain has to reset, because it's like, I need impulses, I need to do something, go somewhere. That's how it's wired. So you get very bored.
Mhm.
But through this process, through this burning of, because it feels almost like burning,
Mhm.
being very, very bored, you start to go through processes of impurities, maybe restlessness that comes up, maybe some thought patterns that don't serve you, they come up, and you have to just sit with it, go
Mhm.
through it. And it's like you realize one day can take so long. It's how much
Right.
time there is in a day. It's
Right.
amazing. So then after doing that for 3 days, and you start to purify yourself, but you also start to reset your brain again in the notion of time and the experience of time, you come back into reality, and you, or society, or your own home, and you realize, okay, wow, there's so much time in a day. I can do so much. You do things with more awareness, with more presence, also because you have not been eating. You taste again, really. You become fully grateful that you have a hot shower, that you have food in the fridge. It resets completely your whole experience of life. So this is something very hard for some people, maybe, but it's highly recommended.
That's so well said. Thank you so much for that. We seem to be on a constant quest for pleasure and sustainable pleasure, and we avoid pain, at all cost.
Mhm.
And if we don't create a healthy relationship with pain, pain creates a relationship with us that takes away any potential for future pleasure. What is the gift that pain brings to us when we can control or have somewhat of a conversation with the painful state rather than the pain telling us, how it's going to be?
Hmm. Hmm. To see pain not as something that shouldn't be there,
Hmm.
but pain as a healing process,
Yes.
as a burning of karma,
Thank you.
and it's the fire that we
Yes.
don't want to be close to, that we don't want to feel. But once we start to change our relationship with the pain and feel like, okay, you know what, I'm going now through this pain, through this sickness, through whatever you're
Mhm.
going through. It's it's because I need to go through this process, and every moment I can be okay with the pain, it's burning old negative karma out of my
Yes.
system.
Where can we take this breath in the next? Where do you see it 50 years from now?
Hopefully, it will become a normality. It will become
Me too.
embedded in our society. Now it's very nice to see my kids, they're 4 and 6 in their school. The teacher is already teaching them meditation every day, and they do meditation every morning, and they teach yoga on some afternoons in the school. um, and this is something very beautiful, because when I was younger, and I think especially for you also, Ed, um, when I said I did do yoga, and they were making jokes like, yoga, very funny. And it was something kind of, yeah, out there. And nowadays it's become already much more part of society, of life. So if we take this a little step further, and we see the importance of mental and physical well-being that is achieved through yoga practice, qigong practice, breathwork practice, all these things, that we start to integrate it into our education system, into
Right.
our healthcare system, and that it becomes a way for people to learn already from a young age to take care of their mind and body. The interesting also thing also that is happening now with the coming of AI and robotics and everything, is that I think human beings will not have to work anymore.
Hmm.
And all most of the jobs you see nowadays, they can easily be replaced by robots and AI. And this whole evolution of AI and robots is going to go faster and faster, I think. So maybe if all goes well, hopefully, um, then human beings don't really have to work anymore. So if you don't have to work anymore, how are you going to spend your free time if it's also not about having more than the other, and I have created this business or this and that? Then people have to spend their time onto other things, onto maybe creative things, but also onto spiritual development, because it's spiritual development and finding a state of success in feeling of inner peace, feeling of okayness, feeling of fulfillment. Then all these practices that lead to that state will become much more important. So imagine if you have all the time during the day in the world, but we see now that using it up with scrolling, with consuming stuff, is not making you happier, and is
Hmm.
actually in a lot of cases making people literally sick. Then we see like, hey, we need to change our behavior and
Hmm.
spend time into finding fulfillment and connection into a deeper sense of self, into a higher state of consciousness, so to say. So if there's all the opportunity for people to spend a lot of time on that, joining lots of yoga classes, or spending lots of time on self-healing methods and all these things, then maybe whole society will be elevated in
Yes.
a way into a higher state of consciousness.
Yeah, I totally believe that everything that's happened in the past has brought us to the precipice of where we are today. Nothing is wasted. Nothing needs to be added. That we simply need to just evolve.
That's it. That's it. And this is evolving. I mean, back in the days, people were spending most of the hours a day. Uh, I mean, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, on gathering food. That was the main thing. In the past 100 years, people spend most of the time a day on just working, on surviving. Most maybe being free in the weekends. That was 100 years ago. You had no weekends. People were just working, working, working,
Right.
right?
Right.
Maybe on Sunday, there was one day a week where you were free. So now people are talking about 3 day work weeks, right?
Hmm.
Or everybody working less and less. But what to do with that free time? How to fill that up? And hopefully, with all these practices, people will spend more time on that, and the consciousness will start to rise with that as well.
Mikel, thank you so much for all you've been, all you are, and all you're going to be. I really appreciate spending some time with you. You just made my day with your knowledge and wisdom and experience that I think every human can relate to.
Thank you very much, Ed, for having me. Keep up doing your great work as well. And let's make this world a bit of a better place altogether, right?
I
Thank you.
appreciate you so much. You're such a great man.
Same to you, Ed. Same to you. Igualmente, as they say in Portugal. Same to you. Yes.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
We're going to have a bunch of links below here where you folks can connect with Mikel and do some work with him via the computer. You're going to love it. He's a master.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.